Okay, so let's call this meeting to order with our agenda. Karen, and Jim's definitely here. Okay, so we need to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so next we move on to consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, do we have citizens' comments? Great, okay.
The Barries?
Do you have a microphone for her?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, a
There's a
presentation.
presentation.
There we go.
Hi, my name.
Keep going, it's on.
Hi, my name is Pavni, and I made a presentation for the Michigan Statistics poster competition, and I'd like to share what I found out. My first question was, what is the most used material? I wanted to know if people use the library as a fun reading program or as a watch movies program. I found out that books is 49% and DVDs is 26%, so books is definitely more. Because books was more, I wanted to know what are the most popular books over all the years. Most of them were Harry Potter. I wasn't surprised by that. But when this new book, The Hunger Games, came up, I was like, what in the world is that book? So when most of them were Harry Potter, did that even work? Okay.
There you go.
When most of the books were Harry Potter, I wanted to know what are the most popular series. So the most popular series were Hunger Games Trilogy, Harry Potter, Divergent Trilogy, Heroes of Olympus, and Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Because most of the books that we found were above my level, I wanted to know what books were most popular in my Lexile range, which is 750 to 850. From this list, I've already read Wonder, Tia Stilton and the Cherry Blossom Adventure, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They were really good. And I'd also like to give a big thank you to Eli for taking the time to meet us and giving us the idea of using the summer game data. He also sent us the data and helped us fix some of the problems we had. And last but not least, inviting me to this board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I understand correctly, you didn't just present at the Michigan Statistics event. You are going to present someplace else, aren't you?
I'm not supposed to present. I just sent the poster, and they're gonna look at it and then decide who gets what place.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, how did you do?
I got first place.
That, exactly. So I was trying to get you there. So when you're first place at the Michigan conference, what's next?
The next is the national level.
Good luck.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very good.
Can we ask how old you are?
Well, in the competition, that you're not supposed to know anything.
Huh. Oh, okay. Your secret's safe with us.
But I can tell you.
Okay.
I'm 8.
8.
How old is he?
8.
Eight.
That's amazing.
That's
Wow.
fantastic. Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Very proud.
Have you thought about running for public office?
The filing deadline's coming up. So we are just so thrilled that you came and showed us this. Like, this is top thing at a board meeting in months, so thank you so much.
Totally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now, I don't know, I don't think I want to get next after that. There's another person who signed up?
Bonnie?
We didn't ask what school she went.
Would you say it again when you get up there?
Hi, Library Board. My name is Chandni Weerspa, and I'm currently a senior at the University of Michigan, studying public policy and graduating in just a couple weeks. I previously came to speak to you in the fall because I'm interning at Civ City, which is a local nonpartisan nonprofit that focuses on increasing awareness of how local government works and getting residents in Ann Arbor engaged in civic life. And through Civ City, I recently published a report that looks at the level of diversity in local government and thinking about what the community and what the public bodies in Ann Arbor can take away. And I will be emailing you all with a link very shortly. Many of you contributed to this report by filling out the survey I had sent to gather demographic data and allowing me to interview you for this project. So thank you so much to the 6 of you who were able to respond to the survey and the 2 of you who took the time to be interviewed. It was greatly appreciated. I wanted to share a couple takeaways with you tonight. One takeaway I have is that across the bodies I looked at, so City Council, Board of Education, Library Board, and the County Commissioners, a lot of people care about engaging with the community, thinking about diversity, thinking about making better, more efficient decisions for the community, but there's not very much collaboration between these bodies or proactive collaboration with the community. So one idea I have is actually what Ann Bannister and Jason Morgan, so City Council and County Board, they got together and had a coffee hour, a joint coffee hour, which allows them to engage with each other and think about how boards can work with each other and also engage in the community and bridge that gap. And I would love for there to be more innovative ways to engage with the community because obviously not too many people come to your regular meetings, which are open. And so it would be great to find a way to ask residents how they can better engage in ways that are easy, that are accessible to the community. And another takeaway I have is that there's still a lot to do in terms of diversity, not just of representation, but also of ideas. And diversity doesn't just mean having the elected officials who look like the people they represent, but that's definitely a start. And looking at the population of Ann Arbor as a whole, there's many communities that aren't currently represented. For example, right now we only have 1 person of color on City Council. And in particular, there's very few young people in office, no young people of color. And what I would love is for the more active recruitment of these younger folks, more women to run for office. And because you're in that unique position of being able to actively recruit people and people see you as trustworthy, and obviously you have the experience, it would be really great for candidates to be recruited into this, especially people who might otherwise not run. And a final thing to consider is that many elected officials I spoke with in my interview, so I interviewed 12 people, they presented ideas for increasing financial stipends that you get to incentivize people to run because obviously it's a big time commitment. But it would be beneficial also to look at ways to decrease the cost of running for office in the first place so that more people are encouraged to run and, you know, a broader array of people with all of their different experiences will come and run in the first place. So I really hope that this report will encourage public discussion and discussion within the bodies and across bodies of the importance of diversity and the importance of community engagement and collaboration, and just kind of the general awareness of what is happening in Ann Arbor government. And I encourage you to read the report. You can find it on medium.com. It's published by Mary Morgan, who is the executive director of Civ City, And I'll send you all the report, and feel free to email me back if anything is particularly striking. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe one thing to note on the heels of that is that this library conducts an event every time there's an election for library board, giving information about what it's like to be on the library board and how the board is structured. I know that at least one or two of you came to that when we were thinking about running. And that will be held this summer in June. So that's something, I don't think that other groups really do something like that, so.
Actually, last week, a few people who are candidates for mayor and the different city council awards, they had an event like that, but it was limited
I want to know what the age range is for young people. Because I'm interested to know if I've aged out now.
I guess we don't count, huh?
Yeah. That's it for us, Jamie. Yeah.
So unfortunately, because Zach Ackerman
Mhm.
Board of Commissioners was qualified as young.
Yeah.
But then if you look at Ann Arbor and Washington County's population,
Yeah.
like the biggest population group is actually people, like the median age is 27, and the biggest population group is like 20 to 30. So just Ann Arbor in general has a younger population than is reflected in the elected.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. We actually probably are skewing younger than most boards, maybe?
Women.
Women, yes. Yeah, we're doing good. Doing well in that. Yeah, doing good. We're doing good, everyone. Okay. All right. It's a long day. Okay. So, citizens' comments. Anyone else? Well, if you make it through the whole meeting, can speak at the end as well. That's like the prize for staying the whole time. Okay. So we move on to financial reports. Bill?
Good evening, everyone. As of March 31st, 2018, we have collected $15,297,148, or 98.1% of our budgeted tax receipts for the year. And we are currently under budget by $1.4 million. Any questions for me?
Under what budget for
It's
1.4? The tax collections or what we're spending?
Under the budget as of
Under
eight-
our
8/12
budget.
of the
Okay.
year, yes.
All right.
Yes, we're gonna change this around next fiscal year.
In what way?
We're going to put the periods, collections, and expenditures more in line with how we actually spend it instead of just dividing it straight by
Okay.
1/12.
Good, yeah. That makes sense.
I think we're good then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, budget and finance. Jim?
We had a budget and finance meeting on sometime in March. I think can't remember when though. A few weeks ago to talk about the draft budget, which will be presented here tonight, later in the agenda. The current draft budget presumes that we will maintain the current levy on the millage, which is about 1.89, the maximum that we can levy at this time. The budget represents an increase, conservative increase of about 2.3%. We're waiting for the numbers from the county to come in next week about the tax assessment. So we'll know then what the value of the millage is and if we'll be affected again by a Headley downgrade in terms of the overall value. We discussed all of these things in our budget and finance meeting, and we'll leave the discussion of the budget until later in the agenda.
Makes sense. Any questions about the other stuff? Okay. Thanks, Jim. Looking forward to talking about the budget in a few minutes. Josie, structure report.
Thank you. I wanted to, well, this happened. The Community Action Network and Slate, which is a University of Michigan student volunteer organization, visited Secret Lab with their students, and it made the Community Action Network newsletter, which we included in your ephemera package so that you could see it. These are photographs from that evening. They did letterpress, they did sewing, and all the things that were possible in Secret Lab were available to them. And they had die cutters, the 3D printer, and they were very, very happy about the evening. Very excited. It's great. Tunde Way is going to be in Michigan in the first part of May. Tunde Way is a cook, a chef, who began a project in New Orleans in from his food truck, where he decided to try something interesting to test some of the attitudes toward privilege. And he charged people of color $12 for lunch, and he charged his Caucasian clientele $30 for lunch. And he was interested in seeing what that response would be. It was not what he expected. He expected his Caucasian clients to turn and walk, and most of them did not. And they had a conversation with him over that and paid the $30. He then has just taken his idea further and has expanded it into other conversations. And what he does is he brings the conversation to a real dinner table, and a group of people meet for dinner from various backgrounds and have this conversation about privilege over dinner. He'll be doing this in Ann Arbor, he'll be doing it in Detroit, and he's coming to the library to do a talk and make a presentation. So we're very, very excited to have him and very interested in what that evening will reveal to us and whoever is attending in that evening. It will be quite a night. So this came to us from the Penny Stamps. Staff asked if we would like to be interested as a partner. So,
Do we have a date for that?
it's in the first week of May. What is it? May 20th. So it's not the first week. April 20th. It's he's coming here first. Okay, then he's doing Detroit. Okay, April 20th. It's coming up this week. Our participation
Here at this branch?
Yes.
Time?
7.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you have in front of you an events page, and that event is the top of the page, very first one. So you have that. We participated again in Full Moon and Festivals. It's a community activity that the library's been involved in since its inception. And so the library provides opportunities for families to come to the library on Sunday afternoons over a period of time to build their costumes and their luminaries. And this is some of the staff from the library with narwhals and fish, and they swam down Main Street happily from AADL. It was a great day. Weather cooperated on that Sunday. So I want to thank everyone here who was involved in that. We received word today that the Michigan Bright Nights Community Forum Series was a 10-year experience with public mental health education at the U of M, and the library participated as one of the sites. And that study, the paper for that study has been accepted for publication in the Journal of Academic Psychiatry. And cool. we are listed. So we're very, very happy to have been a part of that.
Looks like Tim got he's listed as an author.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep, Tim, we have a great shout out on that one. So thanks, Tim, for all your hard work in that process. Visions is the biennial assistive technology conference that will be held here in the downtown library Wednesday, May 16th from 11 to 4. The keynote speaker is William Robinson III, the director of the Michigan Bureau of Services for Blind Persons. This is moved from WCC to the downtown library. Some of you will remember that when it began originally, many, many years ago, it began right here in this room. now it's going to take over the entire library building that day. So the outreach staff are to be commended for a great job getting organized for this. And speaking of outreach, I wanted to highlight some of the initiatives and ongoing room use partnerships. We were talking about meeting rooms and who's using the library and who's in them. Over a number of years, we have provided space to the units that you see listed: Ann Arbor Public Schools Adult Ed, U of M's Palma, WAVE, Washtenaw Alliance for Virtual Education at the Alternative High School, Washtenaw Literacy, ESL. The WISD brings a number of student groups into the library, and several of them students with disabilities of various physical and developmental, and to programming in the library, and have for a long time. So I wanted you to realize this is happening, and some of them, like Washtenaw Literacy, have been going on over 15 years. So they're long-term programs for adults and students in the library. Second floor public computers have been moved to the north west corner of the second floor. The desk on the second floor one's been removed, one's been its location has been changed. Security, there it is. Security is on the second floor now, located behind that desk. We are finding this to be a much more advantageous location for all involved. And we've been able to open up the space that was the computers on the second floor on the wall side for laptop bars, which filled up almost immediately once the computers were taken down. So it was pretty interesting to see that happen. So, these are some public and staff comments. This one is from the Community Action Network, a child learning to sew. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Kelsey, Sierra, and AADL, for your divine hospitality at the Secret Lab Thursday evening. This is from Bryant and Highcombe. Teens enjoyed letterpressing, sewing, die cut, and 3D printing. So we really can't wait to come back. And they sent library love. This is another one. This is, it's not a sign that the airport bus dropped you off right at the AADL Public Library, Amelia. It's just art prints, music tools, and giant chess sets to check out. Someone else said, as someone who bought a sewing machine but doesn't use it for much, I'd have rather rented a communal one and saved myself a couple $100, referring to the sewing machine. So, this one, I have my little script here. I want to get myself right. This is another post from the Secret Lab and about letterpress, and you can see that someone did stationery using our logo and used it. This is a beautiful photo of they're setting, printing, and drawing a special poster to commemorate one of the greatest bicycle racers of all time, Eddie Merckx. So, and this one is two beautiful photos from a book binding workshop that were held in the Secret Lab. So you can see someone used a ruler to bind a book, and someone else used it looks like a gardening journal, one of them. And this one is really wonderful. Friday night last, we had Rhythms and Language and Culture of the Arab World here with Kareem, I think it's Naji, who was here to do music and dancing. He also visited several schools in Ann Arbor that day, and the kids brought their families. They had so much fun at school, they brought their families down to the library, so it was great. The other one is Spring Break Moon Project with help from a library telescope, and it's a thank you from that young man who obviously could not have done it without the library. And that looks like a backyard, I'm guessing. That's someone's backyard. That's great. And this one is a British journalist who's visiting Ann Arbor for a few months, who writes, hands down, this is the place we will miss most in Ann Arbor. I wish I had kept count of how many books we've taken out. Conservative estimate, 500 since August. And so the family was here for a short period of time, and then we're going back home, and we got this note. So it was very nice to do that. Last Friday, the library hosted library camp at ADL. We've done this now for 3 years, And this is open to anyone who's interested in libraries. And people come from all over Southeast Michigan primarily. And and it's a conference that we hold here that's at no charge. The staff pull it together in terms of space. We have one talk in the morning that's organized, and then the people there decide what the conversations will be through the day. And I have the library camp, I have the schedule, and I'll just pass it around so that you can look and see at some of the things people talked about. Susan Cornfield from Bodman came and spoke to us about copyright. She is an expert. She came to the library about 15 years ago and spoke at a staff day, and she's amazing she's an amazing speaker, but she's incredibly well versed in libraries and how copyright affects libraries of all kinds. And so her questions to staff were very she evoked a gasp at the very beginning. She asked this question. A brand new book has been published. It's a cookbook. She points over here and said, this person, and I'll say Josie, decides that she wants some of the recipes out of that book to put in her cookbook that she's going to be publishing in 6 months. Are those recipes protected or not?
I have no idea, actually.
You have to change something in there.
They are not protected.
They're not?
They are not protected.
If you give, don't you have to give the source?
No, no. It is, the courts have ruled that a recipe is a list of ingredients, and that is all.
Wow.
So everyone in the room went, "Oh," and that was, and started the day out. And so she had everyone's attention, and then we went through the rest of the process. It was quite.
When you see it on the newspaper, they will say an adaptation of so-and-so and so-and-so.
It might be just to avoid having to deal with somebody being upset.
Right.
But they're not protected. And so it was quite a moment. So we had a great conversation. It was a good day. And I applaud the staff who were involved. It's a lot of work. But we learn as much as the folks who visit us from hearing their stories and what their challenges are in all sorts of libraries. The only other thing I want to tell you, in addition to what's written and what we talked about here, is that on Friday we experienced a boiler failure, and we had a leak in pipes in the boiler in this building, and it shut down the boiler. We were fortunate that Friday was not too cold, so we were able to remain open, although we had no heat for almost 24 hours in this building. It is repaired, but it's temporary. Because of the age of the pipes and the location of the leak where the pipe broke away, it's going to take a little while to determine exactly what we can do. Also, we're still assessing how much damage there was because the water leaked into a control system. I don't imagine that we will be able to repair or replace for less than 6 figures. And so it's important for you to know that now, so that when I come back to you in a month or so and say that we need money transferred to in order to do this, you will have a understanding of when it happened and where we are with it. This is the assessment that was done by O'Neill, the building assessment, called out that this was a possibility because of the age and the condition of some of the piping in the building. So unfortunately, this has happened. So.
And the location.
And the location, yes. So.
It's so disappointing. On my way up to meet with you today, I met with some of the staff down in the secret lab. It's in my day job. I run a book art studio for the University of Michigan as part of our library, and so I went to see youth book arts equipment. So I went to see some of the staff, and my head fills with like, oh, it would be so cool if that space could have more and be bigger. Maybe we should invest more in that space. And then to come right into hearing, no, we have to spend all this money to fix this old thing that we knew was going to, it's so depressing. I feel very frustrated that we are in this situation where we have to spend money on this stuff. Ugh.
We need heat.
I know we need heat, but like, this building is frustrating. I just wanted to have the opportunity to say that publicly.
At least it's not the sewage for a change.
Oh, if you've been filling out your bingo card. For those of you who don't regularly join us, the sewage comes up every month because we also have sewage problems in addition to other old piping problems.
It's the boilers instead of the Crocs.
We have capacity problem.
Yeah.
I mean, so the
That's
thing
true.
that I would say about that is because we draw so many people to the library, hundreds of people daily, thousands of people for some major events. This building was built at a time that it was built to serve a certain number of people. It serves far more people than that. So we have, what we have is a capacity problem. The community's willing to come to the library in numbers that was not conceived of. And so we are restrained by the condition of our not the condition of our building, but also the space of our building.
And we're not alone in this, too. I know in Burns Park Elementary had to replace a boiler, I think in the past 2 years, and that was a 6-figure project, too, that they actually had to get specially made because of the age of the boiler and how they had to retrofit the technology for the building. Yeah.
And I'm not sure what all we will tell you we will end up having to do at this point, so I'm not sure. We're not sure.
Do you think you'll know by the next board meeting?
And it's not clear we'll have all of that information. We'll have more information.
So we'll just have to hope for warmer weather in Michigan?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's my report.
Well, maybe, do you have something?
I just have one question. So, but Josie, I understand what you're saying about the expense and how we're all frustrated at the difficulty of repairing equipment of the age of our infrastructure of this building. Is there any risk to the staff or the patrons? Are you actually concerned that we won't be able to provide heat or that we're putting them in some environmental risk?
There's not a risk to anyone. It's not. This is in a space that's not staff don't travel and the public's not involved in it, and it's not sewage water. It's
Yes. It's
different
expensive
types.
and inefficient to
Right.
keep it going.
So if the temporary measures we've taken fail, then we won't have heat in this building. So and if it is too cold, we would have to close. So we were able to make the decision Friday to be able to stay open. It was chilly, but it wasn't cold. Had it been a different day, that might have been a different decision. Yep.
And we're providing no services to people.
Right.
Well, shall we move on to other matters of building improvement?
Well, we've been advised, and we were advised when we were considering before the age of our building, that, and we had to confront people who'd say, well, you can just fix it.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that building. We've been singing this same song, and people don't seem to take it seriously. Maybe what we can do is just not be such an attractive place.
Yeah.
But that would be hard, too.
I know, right? Exactly. So we move to,
Bless you.
old business. The next item up is also related to the buildings, all of the branches. We have a resolution to reallocate the balance of approved funds from the Traverwood MSC project to use towards public meeting space in AADL branches. That's page 19.
I'll read.
Great.
The board resolves that $378,000 of capital project funds is reallocated from the Traverwood Branch Library MSC Wall Project for the construction of public meeting rooms in Mallett's Creek, Pittsfield, and Traverwood Branch Libraries. All resolutions and parts of this resolution that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded.
Is there a second?
Second.
And we have Glenn joining us for discussion. So we talked about this at the last meeting. Yes, Ed?
You just answered my question. We talked about this at the last meeting where I wasn't here.
Correct, yes.
I would, if somebody could spend a
Sort of
minute
summarize?
explaining what's going on.
Absolutely. So we're hoping to expand on the bookable meeting spaces that have been so successful at Westgate. We've worked on the meeting spaces at Pittsfield and what you're looking at now. And so we have a 35-seat meeting room where the computers are now, where we see less usage in the computers. And then we have two 5-seat tables in the northeast corner that we could use as bookable space. Mallett's Creek, the goal was to move one range of shelvings forward to take the 4 top tables and move those to 2 top tables, and then at a 7-seat meeting room in a space that's not ideal for groups to meet in. And then Traverwood, there are 4 computers outside of the lab, and then 1 range of shelves. We were going to relocate the shelves and have a meeting room right outside out of the lab. It'd be an 8-seat table there. Questions?
Len, can you just remind me what our existing bookable rooms are throughout the branches?
So Westgate has 2, meeting room A and B. I believe one's an 8-top and one's a 10-top. 8 and 5. And then, so we've added, with the launch of the website, we added 2 spaces downtown, which are on the 2nd floor, and both 10-tops there. And they've been wildly successful, both
So
locations.
this is expanding it to all branches?
Yes. We wouldn't be eliminating any existing study space. We would be sticking with the architecture of the building so that they are designed to look like they've always been there. And that's really important to us as part of this project.
We talked about glass, right? Glass.
There'll be glass.
Yes,
There'll be glass.
Pittsfield already has existing glass around the lab, so we can utilize that. Mallett's Creek has its own colored glass that we would utilize for that space, and the same as Traverwood.
I was ready to vote for this last month. This seems like,
Agreed.
great idea.
Any further discussion?
So the use of these rooms are different from like the larger meeting rooms, right? You're seeing different groups, different size groups?
A little bit of everything. I mean, it could be, I had one about a week ago, it was since the last board meeting, I had one of our vendors, our contractors, call me in the morning. He just wanted to do training in one of our buildings, and we were able to get him bookable space that day, so.
And it's really the website that's driving this, the demand, or website in space.
I think it's the library that's driving it, but it was successful before the launch of the website at Westgate, so it's something that people use, and it's been a huge success.
How booked are the rooms by percentage? Are we like at 80% capacity right now of the 4 spaces? Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Yeah. I was in Westgate.
On a day-by-day, you might have 70, 80%.
Okay. So you might need to book in advance, and that's okay. To
You
me,
have to
it
book
just
at
seems
least
like,
the prior day.
yeah, okay.
And one thing, I don't know that you all would agree, but one thing that strikes me is that the Westgate spaces, it's easy to see them and you think, I can use that.
Right.
I'm not at all advocating that we would move them downtown, but it's harder downtown because we're a vertical building, and these would be on the 1st floor, and so I think there's every reason to think there would be demand for these as well.
Right, agreed. I mean, every time I'm at Westgate, it's just,
Fact.
but yeah, and so diverse. It's cool to see the different things people use them for. Okay.
I guess I have one other question. Did anyone, so I hadn't thought about reallocating space in any of our branches. Were there other ideas that were proposed that you gave weight to in terms of other things we could have done with that space instead of bookable rooms? Was there a counter argument made about what we could do with them among the staff?
I think we kind of went into it going for, this is something we wanted to do because we saw the success at Westgate.
Well, if there's more demand than we can meet, we had to
Yeah,
do it.
patrons were asking for it, so that was the goal we went into.
We found the space to meet this need, and also just the things that we're giving up are low utilized spaces within the branches already, right? That's
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are we ready to vote, everyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All righty. Okay, so our next resolution is the resolution to extend space use agreement with the Friends of the Ann Arbor District Library. It's on page 20. Would someone like to read it?
Happy to read.
Oh, please, Jim.
The President of the Board of Trustees of Ann Arbor District Library is authorized to sign a 1-year extension of the space use agreement along with the President of the Board of the Friends of the Ann Arbor District Library. All resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on this?
It's my recollection from last time we looked at this, that there were no changes, that this is the same agreement that was signed last year except for new dates and new signatures, right?
Correct, that's correct.
And I understand that it has been a successfully driven agreement this year. Like the Friends have lived up to their
Yes.
side of the agreement.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think everything has gone well, and
Terrific.
the Friends were to get back to us if there were any requested changes, and it sounds like everything's fine.
Great.
Okay. Any other questions before we vote? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. So we move on to the budget, the big topic for this evening and new business.
Good evening again. Okay, we have the fiscal year 2018-2019 draft budget. As Jim stated earlier, we're estimating a modest increase of 2% in the tax collections and an overall increase in the overall budget by 2.3%, which takes the revenue to $16,679,610. The other revenue stream that I'd like to talk about is the grants and memorials for $100,000. We had the treasurer's report from the Friends, and in their report they did state that they plan to give us the $100,000 grant in May.
And they confirmed that at the meeting Wednesday evening,
Okay,
too.
so we do know that we're going to receive that money. The other revenue streams are pretty much held constant. We do have a little increase in non-resident fees, just based on where we look like where we're going to end up this year, and increase in the copier revenue by $10,000, and everything else is pretty much held steady in the revenue portion. On the expenditures, I will highlight a few of the areas. Salaries and wage, we are looking at a 7.8% increase, and that includes a merit pool of 3% in that. The other increases are due to staffing. We're put room in for staffing for security, maintenance. As we have more events and we grow things, we need more people to handle those. And also if we need to restructure to stay with the mission and vision of the Ann Arbor Library. We had an overall decrease in the employee benefits by 0.63%. It's because we got some good news from our insurance that the insurance is actually going down by 1.59%. We saw a slight increase in unemployment and a slight increase in workers' comp, but altogether we have a decrease of 0.60%, so that was good. Our employment taxes are just 7.65% of our estimated salary, so that's where that comes from. You'll see an increase of 2.65% in the materials. Same thing with more events, more materials, more things that we'll be doing. Building rental per the lease agreements for the archives and Westgate, we have an 8.14% increase in that expenditure. For library programming, you see one of the biggest increases of 16.44%. There again, that's where the marketing and communications also falls under the library programming. So with more events, and this will be the first full year of the marketing and communications department. The grants and memorials, since we are receiving the $100,000 from the Friends, we are spending the $100,000, and we primarily spend that for the summer games. Operating supplies, a 65.17% increase. There again, more things going on, more supplies are needed. Postage, we actually are having a big decrease in the postage. We're not mailing out hold notices and things anymore, so we're seeing a 42.86% decrease in that expenditure. Then in the other expenditures, just to, that's actually a decrease, but just to give you an idea of what some of those other expenditures are, that's include things like membership dues to various organizations. For example, the Society for Human Resource Management, the Main Street Area Association, the Ann Arbor Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the American Library Association. Also that falls under that is bank fees, alarm fees, and boiler inspections.
We can just tell them if it's broken.
Yeah.
They don't need to come.
So the expenditures, we have to have a balanced budget. So that brings us to the $16,679,610 in expenditures. So that is our operating budget. On the next page, you see the capital project budget, which is outside of the operating budget. And we are proposing that we'll have a budget of $1,008,825 for capital projects for fiscal year 18-19. And that money comes from the leftover money from projected for this year of $508,825. We have right now a balance of $886,825 in the capital fund project. And with your resolution tonight, we're going to spend the $378,000 for the bookable meeting room, so that's where that balance comes from. And then we're estimating to move over surplus funds from this year of $500,000 into the capital fund project for next year. Any questions for me?
Looks like
Yes, sir.
about to say something.
Got a whole bunch of, see if I can remember a few of them. Ann Arbor Visitors and Convention Bureau.
These are all things that we're members of.
What does that membership cost?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I mean, it's a tax-supported institution, and frankly, a very generously supported one. And when I ran my own business, I had some questions about it, and I still do. And I would love if offline I could get some information about that.
We've been a member of the Convention and Visitors Bureau for many, many years. So I don't know when it started it, but we can look at the fee.
Started when we all had dark hair, but it is generously supported by taxes extorted from our visitors, and I have always had a question about why it had to be supported by private industry and by tax-supported institution. Its revenues come from the state collecting tax on motel and hotel stays.
Okay, we can look at,
I'm interested.
Sure.
Second of all, the money from, excuse me?
Nope.
Looks like it's $100 a year.
You know what? I don't, if that's what it really is, I could care less, but
yeah.
my feelings are the same about it. The next question is the money we receive from the Friends goes into the general budget?
Yes, it's part of our operating budget.
Okay. To be frank, I have raised this question in the past, not in public, but in private, that money, which is special money, it is not tax generated and has a special ability to spend on whatever we want. In my own opinion, ought not to go into the general budget, but ought to be kept aside for things that we cannot spend tax dollars on.
We use that money to buy the prizes that people earn in the summer game. And we actually consider those prizes, most of the prizes that we buy, the library buys with the Friends money, so it's not bought with tax money for that very reason. So it's been purposefully used that way for the reason you state, although it shows up in the operational budget. Yeah.
Didn't we occasionally have paid bus fare for our second
grade
graders?
roundup, right?
Just off the top of my head, and this can be dealt with outside of the meeting too, it seems to me that the summer games, which are a unique institution and have a unique population can receive private support if we tried to do so. And we don't have a lot of opportunities that are easy to ask the public, that is to say, private industry, to support it. It's a wonderful thing to sponsor. And we might get some benefit in building friends and practicing our own eleemosynary skills and looking at it, and I think that ought to be dealt with outside of this meeting as well.
Can I address that? Because
Yes.
I agree with you, and I chose to make a gift to the Friends thinking that it would support summer game. So it's that dynamic. I think whether you direct your gift to the Friends or the library, that's something we should take on offline and think about. If we're going to message around how to give, we should think about how to do that for summer game, because it would be a great place to have philanthropic support, unless there's a reason not to.
Just to clarify, like an offline discussion would involve maybe one or two of you, but not the entire board.
One or two of us, not the entire board, and someone from the Friends, I would think, because I would like to hear their perspective, and then Josie should be there.
And they have ideas themselves about raising.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I'll be frank, I would rather that the independent raising of that be considered to be directly from the library rather than from the Friends. For other reasons, again, can be discussed. It can either be discussed in the Finance Committee, or it can simply be discussed with staff at a different occasion. But
My only hesitancy is that the prizes that go out for summer games are branded with our logo and our right. It's AADL and everything. And if we had corporate sponsorship, I don't know how I'd feel about logos, for national companies, local companies. Going out
it's
for
done
prizes.
all over the place. We can talk about it elsewhere. It is quite possible to do it. I mean, frankly, again, when I had a business, I gave away tons of crap, either that some had the company's name on it, and some we just gave money, and the sponsoring organizations, including other public libraries, went out and did their own buying based on their own perception of need. And we didn't get branded, and I could have cared less.
Right.
Some things
There are
we
other
do from
ways
the
we
bottom
can
of my heart.
acknowledge the gift without branding the item, because if we're going to give it to your kindergartner and it's branded with the business, that doesn't seem like it's something your library should do. That's not how we want to.
And it won't be crap either.
But
Right?
I think
Yeah,
we can talk
right.
about that
Everything about that would be bad. I think.
elsewhere. I think it's an issue that needs to be raised that has much broader implications. And
Well, you
might as well
suggested the
start it right
Finance
here.
Committee. For Victoria, what were you going to say?
I just want to say, I do share your concern about branding, although I'm also remembering, all the rec and ed sports teams my kids were on carrying branding around on their backs as well. So I just want to be clear that this is not, it wouldn't be unusual in Ann Arbor.
Right.
At the same time, I agree that my preference would be it says library.
So I hear in this discussion, you see here in this updated budget, there's this $100,000 figure, and there's a question on the table, like, is that all we can expect from this community? Could we look for more avenues to raise that number? How would we do that? How does it work with the Friends? It seems like something the Finance Committee should talk
Bless you.
through.
Yeah, we could put it on. Jim, are you
Yeah,
open
I'm happy
taking
to
that to the Finance Committee? And
accept
we can,
that as a further conversation.
I don't think it's related to next year's budget, though. We're not going to budget
No,
based on
no.
Good
I
thing
mean, I
to
don't
talk
think
about
we're-
in a retreat. All
In
right.
retreats, okay.
I also just wonder too, because I don't know, I'm not aware of any kind of in-kind partnerships that produce prizes for the game. Are there a few? Yeah.
AATA has provided some items.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Typically, we're looking for slightly more exciting
Right.
Items,
Mm-hmm.
so that's not so much of an emphasis.
So, I mean, part of it is I wonder if there's like more of an intermediary step to experimenting with business support through some in-kind gifts like gift cards and that kind of thing, in order to sort of bridge from, the what it is now being supported by the Friends to what it might be as a kind of fully
Intermediary.
Yeah,
Well,
like
I would
corporate.
The team that does it knows much better than I do. Like, is
Yeah.
there time to do that? Or
Exactly.
You could probably go ask the Leslie Science Center to give us some raptors, and then
Yeah.
that would be pretty exciting.
So maybe one thing
Sorry.
we should also note is just that we're really grateful to the Friends
Yes.
for this $100,000
Yes.
that they give
Yes.
us.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to clearly distinguish before the gratefulness for the Friends, which
Sure.
is very real. I'm just suggesting that what we do with the money ought to be seriously considered because it has a different nature than all of the other money that we have. And that we have never discussed it in the 22 years I've been here. And there's always been a presumption that A goes to B and that's the end of it. And that even here, we raise the question, oh, we don't want branding or logos, when frankly, it's done all over the world, yes, in the public spirit of amateur games, Michigan Stadium and every other athletic competition in North America is that way. And although I don't want to be that way, I think there are, as you suggested, lots of intermediate steps, maybe Jim did, intermediate steps between saying Adidas and Nike and having the participation of the community in what we do in a very public way that may lead to greater participation and that will at some point begin to open up greater possibilities for funding from for the library. We talked about some of that this evening elsewhere, and I just think that it's worth looking at. It may go nowhere, but if you don't talk about it, it won't go anywhere. And I think that we have a little bit, as a library, of a prejudice against for-profit businesses. I do not share that prejudice. And I think that at least I would like to discuss later. It's not on the agenda now, but it is worth talking about. And as I said before, further I saith not.
Frankly, if there are local businesses and corporations that want to contribute to the library, I'd be more than happy to accept those monies. So, I mean, I think we're on the same page.
Yes.
And I mean, the point is well taken, I think, in the ways in which the summer game is a community engagement effort, that there could be some strategy that the staff might want to think about since we're talking about it. And it has become one of the great ways in which the library becomes an ambassador in the community. And there's so much of that already built in.
Right. I do
so-
hear that from my colleagues. I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, and I'm just like affirming what Ed said. I mean, the other question I have, just kind of bringing us back to the budget, is what I'm curious to know, Ed, is so there's this question aside of like fundraising for this particular objective, but where you would, let's say, this $100,000 need is filled by someone else. Where do you see the funds? Where would you see the funds of the Friends better allocated?
Well, I haven't given the slightest thought to it, but what I know is that at the moment I do know where they're allocated. They might be allocated to staff, travel, and education. They might be allocated to things that we would like to do with tax money, but we don't have the tax money to do it. They may simply expand our budget, but as long as it's focused on this one thing, then the budget isn't going to expand anyplace else. In theory, there may be a year when the Friends have a lot more money than $100,000 and want to give it to us. And it's simply, I'm asking us to consider how that unique money is spent. I do not have an agenda. I don't know what I might spend it for, but I can think of loads of things Let's take a look, for example, at the publishing program we have. I don't know what the budget line for that is, and as you know, I've kind of groused about it otherwise. But nevertheless, if things like that are a valuable service to the public, great. We might be able to buy hundreds of more telescopes, microscopes, sewing machines, and all of the other things we rent out by the day, week, or month. Those are expensive and to some extent limited, and to some extent they come out of budgets. Our budget is, in fact, a zero-sum game, and what we buy with a microscope does not get purchased for something else that we may need or we may need very much in the future. But if you don't talk about it and you don't allow library staff, that lady over there, raise your hand, that's you, to say there are other things we might be doing, but I don't even bring them to you because we spend all our money already.
Well, I ask that question quite frequently in the budget and finance
well,
meeting about what it is that we can't do or you want to do that you don't see in my colleagues on that committee will know. And I just want to reassure you that we're doing that because I do want the staff to feel empowered to think in big and visionary ways as they're so, prone to doing anyway without our encouragement, but to really find that extra financial leverage that we might need to do something truly extraordinary. So I don't doubt that that's. I think that that's already happening.
So acknowledging Ed's point, it's a good point, and it's a point we can all take. At the end of the day, yes, we still need a zero budget. We can't just roll that money over. We can't roll that money over for the next big creative thing. We can't accumulate it. So say we find corporate.
That's what we're doing with our capital.
Right, that's what we're doing with the capital, but it has to be for capital, right?
It would roll over into the fund balance.
It would roll over into the fund balance.
Okay,
Right.
so
That's why we asked this question.
So maybe
because,
it's the big dream, right?
Yeah.
It's the big. So if we say if we take on campaigning and asking people to give for summer game, which seems like an easy yes to me. Like that's raising money for kittens, right? Like how cool is this program? Like, yeah, I'll give you $5,000 for that. Not me. I didn't say that. But if we can replace that, that's a really great point. And we can roll over the $100K from year to year. Before we know it, 5 years, we have $500,000, and then we can do something that's, send the second graders to a different library in New York, or I don't know, whatever.
Buy a boiler.
Repair.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we want to avoid.
And I think that's a good point as it relates to the budget, is that right now, the sort of anticipated overages in terms of our collection, our tax collection, I can't speak anymore, tax collections are going to primarily to the maintenance of this building very specifically. So like when we don't have to fix we don't have a six-figure boiler repair, or we don't have to anticipate a six-figure boiler repair. There are like many other things that we could be doing. And it is our choice. Right now, we're investing a lot in the capital fund because we are anticipating the need for maintenance in this building and, of course, in the rest of the system, but this building in particular. Yes, Ed.
But with a responsibility to the public, you can only do that as long as you get reelected. You can only do that as long as there aren't 75 angry people out there saying, why are you levying us at the maximum of our budget, of your millage? You can only roll over money, and you can only build funds and continue to tax at the level you tax as long as the public allows you to do it.
Right, you're talking about us.
Right.
Yes, weans, right here. One can only do that as a public body to a certain extent, and that extent is public approval. And because the little amount I'm talking about isn't subject to that, it is possible to review its use.
The only comment I want to make about it, and I agree that the use should be reviewed, is the Friends themselves have interest in what's the money they donate to the library, how it's used.
That's what I was
And
going to
the
say.
Friends of the Library have for many, many years requested their funds be used to support the programming for children and teens in the library. And that's what's happened with it. Their name is on the publicity around that summer game. It is in the books that are given away to children who read for a book. So I want to just say that while, yes, it can be used for other things, and yes, it is not tax money, so we have the ability to use it in ways that we do not tax money. There's a vested interest from the Friends about what happens with that money. And they use the fact that their money supports the programming for youth and children in literacy in their membership drive.
Yes.
And they have several hundred members.
So they leverage this designation
They
as
do.
a way to raise funds.
So a
glad you brought
discussion
that up.
about
That's what I
that
was gonna add.
has to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
And they work hard to come up with that
I
$100,000.
understand all
We
of
like
that,
to know what-
but if we look at that, we also, I sit on another foundation board, the Library of Michigan Foundation Board, where a well-intentioned and very energetic person and foundation had a lot of money behind it, turned the state of Michigan Library into the 10th largest genealogical library in America, all with public money, and frankly, consuming them. Our agreement was you pay for the staff and the books and we'll pay for the space. But those space is also a zero-sum game, and then the roof falls in on the budget, and the governor says, get those damn books out of here, and that's the end of it. It ended one day in the middle of the winter and was gone. You cannot put yourself in a position where outside forces, no matter how well-intentioned, drive your programming to the detriment of other possibilities and of the future. Now, I'd be very careful. I am not calling summer games detrimental to anything. I think they're fabulous. They're absolutely wonderful. They are unique, and they can have the Friends of the Library stamp on them forever and ever. However, they don't have to use all of their money to support it. We can use some other money to support it, or we can go to them and say we have other opportunities which we can use your money, but we cannot use our own money. And we would like you to consider those. We have to have, to use an awful phrase, a dog in the fight as well. We have to think, what are we doing?
Ed, I do hear what you're saying about that, and I know you don't, we all think that we want to be, that the Friends of the Ann Arbor District Library are an active and engaged collaborator with us. We're not passively accepting from them, but we work with them. But I would find, I think I'd be a little more focused on what you're saying if I was hearing unmet need.
Yeah.
Because I hear you in theory, and in theory I think, yes, we want to put our funds to the best use, and if we have more flexible funds, we certainly want to think about that and in working with a partner, but I'm not hearing an unmet need that we think if only we had that kind of funding we could do. But it's important to remember that we have that option. We do have more flexibility with the Friends funds once we receive them, at the same time that we want to maintain a good working relationship with the Friends, because our goals are the same.
I mean, I would say the big elephant in the room unmet need is that we are at capacity or beyond at capacity for this building.
Yes. That's right.
So I think, like, while there are not unmet needs in the immediate future in terms of programming, and it's nice to see increases for programming in this budget, the building just can't support that much more programming.
Right.
Well, but we have other branches that can.
But probably not at quite the level that we need to accomplish things. Yeah. So there's something actually I wanted to mention in this budget, and it's nice to see this 3% increase continued again for staff. I mean, we're talking a lot about buying stuff. We're not talking that much about paying people, and I think it's really nice to see the continued commitment at that level for the merit pool.
Can I ask a question? In my years on the board, we haven't done a sort of a market comparison for staff salaries. Do we do that
Yes,
as part of
that
our regular
happens.
cycle?
Yes, we do.
Right before you came.
We do it every several years?
Every third year.
Every third year.
So it's due next year.
Any other comments on the budget?
I have two super small ones.
Yeah.
Well, one small one. I think it was you, Ed, who earlier talking about sewing machines and telescopes said the word rent. And I want to be clear, we don't rent things.
Well,
We
we
check out.
We
Check out.
circulate.
Yeah. We don't rent things to the public, although some of us get fees sometimes, and we, of course, are happy to pay them. The second question, though, is a little, can you walk me through that again, what operating capital outlays are?
Okay.
What those funds are for and why they've increased in the next budget cycle?
Right, so the operating capital outlays, some of those projects that would fall under that would be replacing the carpet on the first and second floor here in the downtown library, AV upgrades here in the downtown library, replace worn furniture at all the locations, roof repairs would fall under that.
And what's the dividing line between, some of the things you said I would have expected perhaps to be in capital project funds. What's the dividing
Right,
line
that's,
between those
that's
two
where,
lines?
yeah, that's where most of the things that were outlined in the reserve advisors survey, those projects would fall under the capital project fund.
Is there a dollar
So
figure that
there's,
triggers them
I
to
think
being
the
in
first year
projects?
they estimated, what was it? Is it still here? $730,000 for the first year if we did all of the things they recommended.
It isn't a dollar amount so much as it is a routine maintenance.
Yeah.
Versus
And
one-time
the things
improvements.
you expect to have to do, and
Yep.
something that happens, that's big, that
Okay.
you only do once in 30 years or 40 years. Right.
So our
Hope to.
operating capital outlays, we expect to be able to predict with a high degree of accuracy and projects are.
Correct. We're committed to replacing a certain amount of carpet every
do remember
year,
that.
replacing furniture and a certain amount of furniture every year or whenever's needed, that sort of thing.
And I don't think we've looked at that schedule
Not for a while.
for a
Well,
while.
we
But you
developed
have,
it.
you
Yeah,
have,
we
yeah.
have,
You
but we
guys
could
have.
share it with you again.
We,
Yeah.
I don't remember if we looked at it since you've been
We
on the
talked about it.
committee,
I
but
think
yeah.
Lynn did one a year or so
Mhm.
ago.
Last year,
A-
budget
right.
A
time.
more multi-year one.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Thank you, Bill.
All right.
You did it.
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
So this is just a discussion. We vote on the final budget in May, so.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
All right, so next up is a vote for a closed session at our next meeting, the May 21 meeting, and it's a roll call vote.
I would move for a closed session at the May 21st, 2018 regular board meeting for discussion of real estate, labor negotiations, and director's evaluation.
So move. Second, I mean.
Thank you, Jan.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, roll
I'm
call.
voting on closed
It's
session.
closed session.
So glad this is being recorded. Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Sorry, I'm so glad not to be the only one who. It's little
Forgot
moments
it was
like
that kind of vote.
Are there other citizens' comments? Oh, great.
Great.
Finally, someone takes me up on staying through the whole thing and then talking.
Yeah.
Yes, Dave Deepice. The conversation about what to do with the fund's money and how to handle it kind of resonated me in one way. And that is that one of your strategic goals is to explore alternative sources of funding. And to me, when you start talking about what we're going to do with the Friends' money, that should be part of a larger discussion of, you know, are we going to do some alternative funding? What's it going to look like? Are we going to have a foundation, a different foundation, look for corporate partnerships, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope as you move forward in this next year, you maybe might need to budget a little money so you can spend some time looking at what needs to be done in that area. Because certainly when the vote, if you go to the voters and ask for a special millage at some point, whatever it is, no doubt one of the questions is going to be, what are you doing to raise money beyond asking us, the taxpayers? That's my comment for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it's too bad Chandani's not still here from Civ City, because knowing the strategic plan numbering of the organization that you're making a public comment on, that's like A+ civic engagement.
Yes.
So, yes. Anyone else?
I just do feel moved to just comment, which is to say that that conversation that we have reported on here in this meeting has been happening in the Budget and Finance Committee regarding questions about foundation and the feasibility of that question for us in relationship to how we are thinking about philanthropic support, corporate support for the library system.
It's a complex question.
And it's a complex question.
And Jim,
very complex
didn't
question.
you report at an earlier meeting, your committee reported that you decided that it wasn't the right time for a foundation?
At this time, yes, given the consulting, the little bit of consulting that we've done in the community. And Colleen, do you want to comment to that?
Yeah, I want to say something about the complexity of the question, which is we can't lose transparency within that complexity.
That's right.
So I think we should, at some point, think about how we publicly present that conversation, what we know about foundations, what we've looked at, how we've thought about it within the Finance Committee so far.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And if you or I or Victoria present on that, we can do some homework and make sure that we have a report that's full, that tells the whole story. And also asks the questions we still need to answer.
Right. I mean, I think as our resident philanthropic development specialist on the board, that would be a great conversation for you to lead.
Thank you.
for
I'd be
us.
happy to do it.
I agree.
You're very knowledgeable.
I can say
in these areas.
fundraising is harder than you often think it will be,
Yeah.
and it takes. And what's hard about fundraising is keeping track of who gave you what it's for, and then how to make sure that that money gets to where the donor intended it to be. You can ask donors to give to the thing that you want to do, but it doesn't mean they're going to do it. At the end of the day, they can tell you what they want to do, and you can either use their money or not use their money. If we campaign for something like Summer Game, that's more of a community annual giving campaign. That's a different animal, but that still takes operational work, a lot of
That's right.
operational work.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. So, see you next we're adjourned. Thank you. I know it's so early. Time to go to city council. Oh my gosh. City council.
And I'll get to stop thinking about raising.
They're gonna bingo.